Hey you, and welcome back to the deep dive.
Hey there.
Ever feel like you're just drowning in news out there on the road?
Oh, yeah.
New rules, crazy freight rates, port stuff. It's, a lot. Especially when you're just trying to get the job done.
That's exactly why we're here.
Yeah.
Think of this as, like, your shortcut
Yeah.
to the info that actually matters.
Right.
We've been digging through the latest in the trucking world, some pretty unusual safety things, big shifts in freight,
Right.
and we're going to break it down, what it means for your day-to-day.
Got it. We've looked at articles, industry chatter, trying to get the full picture.
Multiple angles.
Exactly. And how it all connects back to you, your time on the road, maybe your future too. So today we're talking about traffic barrels with personality.
Yep, in Virginia.
Okay. And the slowdown at the LA port, where that freight's shifting.
Big one.
Plus a spike in flatbed loads, surprisingly.
Yeah, interesting contrast there.
A new Love's opening in Ohio parking.
Always good news.
UPS making a big healthcare logistics play.
That's right.
And Universal Logistics changing its legal home base.
Yeah, moving states. We'll get into why.
Okay, let's get into it.
Let's start with those barrels. Norfolk, Virginia.
Right, the barrel monsters.
Yeah, so picture this. Standard orange traffic barrels, right?
Mhm.
But local artists and traffic folks turn them into these colorful characters.
Characters, like with faces.
Faces, sometimes arms, legs.
Uh-huh.
It's pretty creative.
Okay, so I'm driving, maybe hours in, kind of zoned out, seen a million barrels, and suddenly one has, like, googly eyes.
Exactly. It's designed to snap you out of it.
The autopilot thing?
Right. They call it a pattern interrupt. Your brain is used to tuning out the same old signs.
Yeah, you just see orange.
But this is different, unexpected. It grabs your attention.
And in a work zone, that split second matters.
Totally. Especially if you're tired. Those standard signs might just blur together. They stand out.
I wonder what truckers think. Some probably think it's silly, right?
Oh, I'm sure there's some skepticism. Maybe a few laughs.
But maybe it works.
Well, the Virginia DOT and the construction crews are saying they've seen positive feedback. People seem to be noticing the zones more, maybe slowing down.
Interesting. And other states might do it too.
That's the word. It seems like it might be catching on.
It kind of highlights that whole shared responsibility thing for safety, doesn't it?
It does. It's not just on the road crews. We all got to be alert.
Yeah.
And maybe these barrel monsters are like unexpected safety partners.
An unlikely ally, yeah. Okay, let's switch gears.
All right.
Something probably hitting closer to home for a lot of drivers. The Port of Los Angeles. Big drop in container traffic.
Yeah, this is significant. And it's not just LA, it ripples outwards.
What's driving it? Is it still that China trade stuff?
Mostly, yeah.
Yeah.
Ongoing trade tensions, new tariffs, companies reevaluating where they source from.
Right.
Plus, a lot of companies still have high inventory levels from before.
So they're just ordering less or maybe sending ships elsewhere?
Both, really.
Yep.
Some importers are definitely rerouting freight to avoid potential issues or costs.
So who feels the pinch most? Drayage drivers right there at the port, I guess.
Absolutely. Fewer containers mean fewer turns for them, but also long-haul carriers who rely on freight coming out of the West Coast.
Less loads available, maybe softer rates.
Definitely seeing that. And owner-operators playing the spot market out there. It's getting tougher, more competitive.
So what's the move for drivers caught in this? Just wait it out.
Well, you can, but it pays to be adaptable. Follow the freight.
Where's it going? You mentioned other ports.
Yeah, places like Houston, Savannah, Newark. They're seeing bumps in activity.
So maybe look for loads heading out of those areas.
Exactly. Use those load boards, D8, Truck Smarter, whatever you use, diversify where you're looking. Maybe even consider some contracted freight for stability.
And keeping costs down, always smart.
Always. Especially when your main lanes are slow. Lean operations are key.
It really shows how global politics, tariff talks and stuff, directly impacts your routes and your wallet.
It's all connected.
Yeah.
And this might not be just a short-term thing. We could be seeing a longer shift in supply chains.
Companies spreading their bets, maybe sourcing from different countries.
Could be.
Yeah.
Which, interestingly, leads us to the flatbed situation.
Right, you said that's booming. Kind of the opposite story.
Yeah, it seems counterintuitive, but there's a surge right now in flatbed demand, and rates are climbing.
Why flatbed specifically?
It seems to be driven by importers rushing to get industrial goods in before potential new tariffs hit.
Ah, so things like machinery, steel, lumber, stuff that typically moves on a flatbed.
Exactly. They're trying to beat the clock on those tariffs.
Where is this happening most?
Primarily around the Gulf and Southeast ports. Think Houston, Savannah, Mobile, Charleston. Those areas are hot for flatbed right now.
So if you're a flatbed driver, especially near those ports, good times.
Potentially, yeah. Better spot rates, maybe quicker turns on loads. Owner-operators with flexibility could really capitalize.
Makes sense. But what about, say, a van driver thinking, maybe I should switch to flatbed?
Good question. While the rates look tempting, it's a whole different world, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Tarping, securement. That's serious work.
Right. Different equipment needed, maybe higher insurance costs. It's not a simple switch. You got to know what you're getting into.
Definitely. So for the current flatbed guys, maybe now's the time to renegotiate rates. Ask for percentage pay.
Could be a good time to push for that, leverage the demand. But keep in mind, it might be temporary.
How temporary?
The thinking is maybe 4 to 6 weeks of this high demand. Then once tariffs hit, or if they hit, things could cool off fast, maybe even a dip.
And routes might shift around again afterwards.
Probably. It just shows how different trucking sectors can have totally different experiences based on these big economic waves.
Wild. Okay, something a bit more concrete, maybe. Good news on the parking front.
Yes. Love's opened a new travel stop in Belmont, Ohio.
And the headline is?
121 new truck parking spaces.
Nice. That's always welcome news. The parking crisis is, well, it's rough out there.
It really is. The stress of finding a safe, legal spot. It impacts everything. Safety, sleep, your hours.
So this new Love's in Belmont, Ohio. That's on I-70, right? Busy corridor.
Very busy. So adding 121 spots there is significant. They've got standard spots, some oversized ones too.
Plus the usual amenities, diesel, DEF, showers.
Yep, showers, restrooms, laundry, Wi-Fi, tire care center, a couple of fast food options. The works.
It's good to see companies like Love stepping up, because government action on parking seems slow.
Painfully slow, yeah. So private investment like this is crucial right now. It chips away at the problem, even if it doesn't solve it overnight.
What are drivers saying? Are they excited or just figure it'll fill up instantly?
A mix, probably.
Yeah.
Definitely appreciation for new spots anywhere. But yeah, realism too. High traffic area, those spots will be in demand.
And probably wishing for even more amenities focused just on drivers.
Always. But hey, any safe parking added, especially on a major route like I-70, reduces stress and makes things a bit safer. It's a positive step.
Definitely a tangible improvement for folks running through Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's shift to a big corporate move. UPS. They bought a Canadian company.
That's right. A $2.2 billion acquisition of Andlauer Healthcare Group.
Andlauer. What do they do?
They're specialists in healthcare logistics, particularly temperature-controlled shipping. Think pharmaceuticals, medical supplies.
Ah, the cold chain stuff.
Exactly. It's highly regulated, needs specialized handling. Andlauer also has strong cross-border infrastructure and expertise between the U.S. and Canada.
So UPS is buying that expertise and capacity. Why the big focus on healthcare?
It looks like a major strategic push to expand their UPS healthcare division. They want more cold chain capability, better cross-border reach.
Control over those high-value lanes, maybe.
That's likely part of it. Healthcare logistics often commands higher rates due to the complexity and sensitivity.
What does this mean for drivers, potentially?
Well, probably increased demand for drivers with cold chain experience, maybe specific certifications.
So specialization pays off.
It could definitely lead to a wider gap between general freight rates and specialized rates, like for medical hauling.
Any downside? Maybe for smaller medical careers.
Could be tougher competition for them, yeah. Competing with a giant like UPS beefing up its healthcare game, that's challenging.
It really points to this trend of specialization in trucking, doesn't it?
It does. And if you look bigger picture, government's investing more in pandemic readiness, global pharma growing.
Yeah.
You can see why UPS sees this as a major growth area.
So maybe something for drivers to think about long-term, getting into specialized freight.
Worth considering, definitely. Developing those skills could open doors down the road.
Okay, one last piece of news. Another corporate move, but different. Universal Logistics.
Right. They're planning to reincorporate, move their legal home from Michigan to Nevada.
Why Nevada? What's the advantage?
Their stated reason is protection from unmeritorious lawsuits. Nevada is generally seen as having laws more favorable to corporations.
How so? Like harder to sue them?
Yeah, things like potentially higher barriers for bringing shareholder lawsuits, fewer disclosure requirements sometimes, and Nevada has no state corporate income tax.
Okay, that sounds like stuff lawyers worry about. How does it impact a driver?
Indirectly, perhaps. If it becomes harder for employees or others to bring lawsuits, it could mean, for example, more disputes get pushed into arbitration instead of court.
Arbitration. That's usually private, right? Less public scrutiny.
Typically, yes. It could potentially affect things like worker protection claims or accountability, depending on how things play out. It changes the legal landscape the company operates in.
Is this common? Companies moving states for legal reasons?
We are seeing a trend of companies incorporating or reincorporating in states perceived as more business-friendly, like Nevada or Delaware.
Right.
Sometimes these states also have laws seen as less protective for workers compared to others.
So what's the takeaway for drivers working for a company like Universal or one that might do this?
Well, we've heard some drivers express concern about what it means for their rights. The bottom line is, it's really important to stay informed.
Document everything.
Absolutely. Document everything related to your work, understand your employment agreement, know your rights. It's about being proactive and protecting yourself in a changing environment.
Good advice. Be aware of the bigger corporate picture.
Exactly. These legal shifts can have real-world ripple effects.
Okay, so that's a lot we've covered. The barrel monsters and safety.
Right. The unexpected reminder.
The port slowdowns and freight shifts. Adapting to that.
The need for flexibility.
The flatbed surge, the parking improvements, UPS doubling down on healthcare.
And the legal shifts with companies like Universal moving states.
It really drives home that point Hervey from life as a trucker makes, doesn't it? You got to look at these things from all angles.
Absolutely. See how it all connects. Because it all eventually impacts drivers on the road, one way or another.
And speaking of life as a trucker, all this talk about change and adaptation, it makes you think about managing your own time, right?
Definitely. Not just managing your clock for the dispatcher or the shipper.
But for yourself, using that off-duty time wisely.
Yeah, investing in yourself. Maybe learning a new skill. Exploring other ways to bring in income.
Like looking into some of the online stuff, maybe even AI tools. There are resources out there, like at retirefromtrucking.com, that talk about this.
Making that downtime productive for your future, not just resting up for the next load. It's about long-term planning.
That proactive approach is so key in this industry, isn't it? For your career, your finances, your well-being.
Couldn't agree more. Stay informed, stay adaptable, and invest in yourself.
You can find more details and resources on all this over at lifeasatrucker.com and retirefromtrucking.com. We really appreciate you tuning in for this deep dive.
Yeah, thanks for listening. And as you head back out there, maybe think about how some of this stuff, the market shifts, the safety ideas, the corporate moves might influence your next decision.
Or just how you approach your day, your week, your future. Stay informed, stay proactive. We respect the heck out of what you do.
We really do.
Drive safe out there, everyone.